Now, something I haven't been seeing a lot recently on YouTube is videos talking about COVID. These videos used to be everywhere, however, they've faded into obscurity. Yet where I live, Hong Kong, COVID is still a relevant part of everyone's lives. So why is this? And why hasn't Hong Kong opened up to the rest of the world yet? And how long will it be? Hong Kong is, well, unique. It's this giant megacity with a crazy history and a very eventful future ahead of it. However, eventful is a good word for a lot of cities, but not so much for Hong Kong. This city, which is often called the real-life cyberpunk, and was actually the inspiration for the city in said game, Hong Kong has been on a downward spiral for a long time. Hong Kong actually has the second highest time of quarantine right after China. To a Western audience, well, quarantine is almost non-existent these days. But in Hong Kong, you can get into quarantine even if you are close contact with a hamster. Yes, I'm saying that right. This all leads to what I call the 2022 Hampterman Square Massacre. Yes, it was a real thing. Basically, a couple weeks ago from when I'm recording this, a woman in a pet shop caught COVID. After the pet shop was checked around, it was found that a hamster also had COVID, and that a possible human-to-animal transmission and vice versa could have been possible. Therefore, every hamster bought between the 21st of December and the time where the COVID case was reported, literally 2,000 hamsters were turned into the government and brutally murdered, just because they might have had COVID, which they probably didn't. But dogs can catch COVID, or at least they can transmit it. Humans can get COVID. So why aren't we killing those too? Why are we only going after hamsters just because one of them had COVID and probably didn't actually directly transmit it? Well, this leads on to my next point. Now, of course the Hong Kong government did the right thing in hiring experts to actually tell them the info about COVID to help them make their decisions, instead of just assuming whatever and then making laws based on that. However, the experts, while undoubtedly skilled in the field of viral technology, are experts that agree that COVID should be eliminated entirely. However, we can't eliminate COVID. It is something that we'll have to live with forever. I mean, you can't take the flu out of a city, so why would you be able to take COVID out of a city? The two are basically the same thing. I literally don't know. But yeah, that is their conclusion. So, like, why? I mean, these restrictions will work for a little bit, I guess, but it's not gonna work forever, and eventually you're going to have to change some stuff. Now, at this point, the majority of Hong Kong actually is vaccinated, but have restrictions changed? No, we're still all locked up. Currently, as I'm talking right now, the vaccination rate is about 60%. However, it needs to be higher for anything really to change. I mean, you can exercise without a mask, and that's pretty much all that's really changed. Now, probably the worst part of the fact that the restrictions aren't changing is the impact on local businesses. Now, I'm going to insert a little personal story into the story, but basically, my dad flies for an airline called Cathay Pacific. However, of course, travel in Hong Kong at this time isn't really the best, and so the company's been mainly focusing on cargo operations. Right now, he's actually in quarantine after a flight, but basically, with not many people flying in or out of Hong Kong and the quarantine being so high, the only real passengers they have is the people moving to Hong Kong, either permanently or temporarily for a job, and the crazy amount of people that are moving out of Hong Kong in the next little while, including myself. Now, I really miss going on cruises, and I'd love to go on the Genting Dream again, but for one, unfortunately, my dad is away in doing his job for Chinese New Year, and that's the last holiday I will ever have in Hong Kong before going to Canada. And also, unfortunately, another local business, because of these restrictions, is going under. Now, I'd like to point out that it's not all because of Hong Kong they're going under, it's mainly just because they were shut down for so long and they have a lot of expensive assets in their company. But this company is called Genting. They actually own a lot of cruise lines like Crystal Cruises, Dream Cruise Lines, which owns the Genting Dream, and Star Cruise Lines, visualized in this stock footage here. In fact, this ship, the Star Pisces, which was formerly a Swedish ferry, used to sail in and out of Hong Kong all the time, doing really short cruises, pretty much getting people introduced to the world of cruising before they would go on something bigger and more expensive, like a Dream Cruise or something like that. Unfortunately, though, the Star Pisces, which used to sail in Hong Kong all the time, is now anchored off Malaysia, and Genting has gone bankrupt. Dream Cruise Lines is reportedly gonna operate for just a little longer, but by the end of January, Genting will be gone, and the billionaire who founded them in the first place says that he is not willing to invest the $2 billion needed to pay for the Oasis-class competitor that Dream Cruises is currently building. Therefore, the fate of the company, the ships, and everyone who works for them is currently in jeopardy. The road ahead for Hong Kong is gonna be rough, and there's gonna need to be some major changes needed to push Hong Kong into the future. But let's hope the city will continue to live for years and years on end.